All right, let's use this slide to test if we understand the concept of a function, well, a relation being a function, and if that function is one-to-one. Okay, so we're going to pull this down one at a time. Let's take a look at this relation. We're saying that we're going to call this f of x, right? And we want to know first and foremost, is this a function? Okay, first of all, the test for functions is, do I have one input? Okay, do I have one input producing different outputs? So really what we're looking for in a table, and you'll want to make sure you jot this down. When you have a table and the question is asking, is this a function? Okay, in terms of a function, we want to look for repeated x values. Okay, are there any repeated x values? Because if there was another -6 up here, let's say, I'd want to know if it produced the same thing every time. Like if this was a -6, I'd say, well, there's two -6 inputs, and they both produce a 7. That's fine. If this was a -6, and I said, well, here's another -6 that's an input, and it produced an 8, that's not fine, right? So that's why we're looking for these repeated values of x, right? So all you have to do to really answer this first question, is this a function, is look here. Look at only the x coordinates, right? Do we have repeated x coordinates? Yes, we do, okay? We have a -1 that shows up twice. Okay, so our radar is kind of going off right now. We got to check the outputs. What do you notice about these outputs? Okay, the outputs are different. So we have an 8 the first time and a 7 the second time. So is this a function? Big fat no. And if it's not a function, then we don't even worry about if it's one-to-one. It doesn't matter. Okay, let's go to this next one. Here's our table, right? Where do we look? First of all, is this a function? We look here. Do we see any repeated x values as we scan through here? No. Okay, so is it a function? Yes, it's a function. Okay. Is it one-to-one? Remember, one-to-one-ness, for lack of a better word, is looking at the repeated y values. Okay, so again, to test if something's one-to-one, we want to know, are there repeated y values? And let's look. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. No, we don't have any repeated y values. So we know it's a function because there are no repeated x values. We know it's one-to-one, yes, because it has no repeated y values. All right, plain and simple. If I graphed all those points, they would show up only once, right? Now let's look. Is this a function? Sorry, skip the to the ending here. Is this a function? Do we have any repeated x values? We have no repeated x values. So we don't have to be on alert for, like we had in that first example. Yes, this is a function. Is this function one-to-one? We look for repeated y values. Nope. Okay, so this function is not one-to-one. It does not have an inverse, right?